This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'm going clear across the globe over there. I think we got 24 hours difference, which no, it's not that. It's 12 hours. Anyways, it's 8 o'clock here in the morning, and it's 11 o'clock over there. Wassim Dabboussi is burning the midnight oil over here so he can talk to you. So I take that as a compliment. Anyone who would stay up till 11 o'clock at night to be on this podcast, I think, he's driven. He's driven. So, hey, Wassim, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Mitch. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hey, I got to introduce my sponsor real quick. My sponsor is taxfreefuture.com. If you don't have a tax-free or tax-deferred retirement savings account, you don't have a clue as to the biggest tool in the toolbox you can have when you're starting to build that retirement. Please go to taxfreefuture.com because you will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you, and we're going to tell you what they're not telling you, and we're going to tell you why they're not telling it to you. All right, got that done. Taxfreefuture.com. How'd you like that?
Awesome.
I've said that a few times, haven't I, Wassim?
You have. You're very good at this.
So give us a little background. How old are you, by the way? Do you mind me asking that?
Yeah, I'm 41 years old.
Good. 41. I'm 58. Going on 28.
That's the way it is, mate. Life starts at 40.
and again, you're in Sydney, Australia, clear across the globe. But what we're fixing to talk about spans the world. It's universal. We're going to be talking about self-improvement and how to, get what you want out of life, I suppose.
That's right.
Tell us your background. How did you get to be 41 and in this chair right now talking about this?
I started my journey when I was 18. I wanted to become a psychologist. My family stopped me from doing it. So I got into personal development in my mid-20s, and it changed my life.
Why did your family stop you from being a psychologist?
Well, my family are migrants to Australia, and they had a view that if you're a psychologist treating people who have mental illness, you're going to end up with a mental illness. So it was a no-go zone for me.
Oh, I see. So kind of what you immerse yourself in is what you become.
That's right. That's what my parents believed, and they were very afraid for my future. So they coached me, for lack of a better word, to get into information technology and IT. And I lasted 4.5 years at uni and 1.5 years in the workforce.
Yeah, everyone's got to spend their time in the woods, don't they?
That's right. That's right.
You know what? I have a book called My Life in 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom. And it was put out about 10 years ago, and it's still relevant today. And a lot of people call me and say, man, our lives are so parallel. And when I listen to them, they're not that parallel, but I figured out what they're connecting with. They're connecting with, I'm telling them about my time in the woods and my struggle and how hard it was. And everybody has that time,
Yeah.
And the ones that do well or fortunate, when they come out on the other side and they're better for it, other people are still stuck in it and trying to figure out their way out. So this is going to be a real relevant conversation. May I ask, what culture is that's afraid that you're going to morph?
I'm from Lebanon, so I'm Lebanese background.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay, so you try some IT, that doesn't fit. How do you get your way into self-improvement?
So at the age of 25, I was a struggling young father who had purchased his first house. We had quite a large mortgage. My wife had taken time off work, and we couldn't afford to live in our house. So I had to move in with my parents to rent the house out. During that time, I decided to find a way in which I can make some extra income. I was a teacher by that time. And during that time, I wanted to find an extra income, and I got into network marketing. And through network marketing, I came across, I had a great opportunity with a great presentation to go to a peak performance event, one of your guys in America, Tony Robbins.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I went there. I saw this massive 6-foot-something guy tell me I'm going to walk on fire. I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? There's no way I'm walking on fire. And then that night, I walked on fire twice. And that changed my life.
Oh, wow. It's neat when you can trace it all the way back to a defining moment. He's quite a speaker, isn't he?
He's an awesome speaker. One of the things I do, and one of the things I promised that at that event, I promised myself that I'll take my son when he's 14 years old to Tony Robbins. And I was able to fulfill that 2 years ago. And in about less than 3 weeks, I'll be taking my second child to the next Tony Robbins event because he turned 14 this year also.
Good for you. Good for you. So you're inspired to start helping people. So how do a lot of people find you?
Well, I'm online. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I've got a website, which I'm sure we'll be sharing later on. So yeah, online people can find me. They can inbox me, message me. I always respond to everybody.
I'm sorry, maybe I didn't ask the question right. When people come to you, yep, what's the over repeating theme? What are they trying to accomplish? What's the words that they say?
Okay, the biggest challenge that my clients face is how can they have a fulfilling life in every part of their life, whether it's their career, their success in their career, their health, and their relationships. So this is where I work with my clients. So I get them to hone in and find out what their purpose is in life, find out what motivates them, and how can they have an inspiring vision that's going to drive them towards it, not away from a pain.
Man, half the battle seems to find your purpose, to find where you belong. I went my personal story till I was 34. Couldn't find my ass with both hands. I was a hard worker. I always had the bartending job, at night. So I had some money, but I always had the entrepreneurial endeavor of the month that I was trying to get off the ground, trying to start a business. And I failed at so many. And people ask me, how'd you get into real estate? I like to tell them I failed at everything else. But it was the last thing left. There was only one thing left. But once I found real estate, I don't know. I mean, I never sat in class or when I was a child going, I want to flip houses. It wasn't even a word back then. It wasn't even a profession back then. It certainly didn't have any TV shows all over the globe. And it never crossed my mind. It's just something I accidentally did once and it stuck. So what's the biggest problem with people finding out where they belong? And it's a huge issue, I would imagine, because I see a lot of people still trying to find out. And then when you see the people that know what they're supposed to do, it's like life changes for them at that point.
Yep. The biggest challenge that I find is most people are living somebody else's dream, or they're living to somebody else's expectation.
Ooh,
and most of the time, it's usually their parents' expectation. And if you're a male, it's usually your father's expectation.
Yep, I understand that. It takes a lot of courage to go against that. I mean, and for a while, you can't go against it because you're so dependent. When does this normally start to change?
It normally starts to change. For me, it started to change when I tried, like you, I tried so many different things and I just was not happy. I tried a marketing business. I tried running a cafe. I tried a sales rep role. I own a gym at the moment, which is something I'm also passionate about. But it just all came around full circle for me, which is my need and want and desire to help people. And I was just sick of working in somebody else's dream. And I was like, screw this. I want to take my life to the next level.
And so when you decided that, what was the first thing you did? What's the steps to becoming a person who helps other people in this fashion?
I took quite dramatic steps. I quit my job, got paid out, and just went full in. If you're going to do something, you've got to be better, immerse yourself and just go full out. One of the things I learned quite early on is if you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats.
Say it one more time.
If you want to take the island, burn the boats.
If you want to take the island, burn the boats. Who said that? Or who that was Greek or Roman?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
I think it was the Romans, yes.
Or the 300 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the theory was so no one could retreat. They sailed across the country to take some land or to take an island. And the captain or the leader burned all the boats because we win or we die.
You win or you die. That's it. If you take away any second option or any plan B, most people fail because they've always got a plan B. They don't go for that.
That's interesting because the human body is the most adaptable thing in the world, and it will figure everything out. And if you put yourself in positions where you can't retreat, you will stand and fight and move forward. And
That's right.
And it may not be pretty, and it might get damn ugly. I had a similar experience where I took having a job off the table. It was no longer a choice. I had to figure out something to do. It was no longer a choice.
Yep.
I had to have some great mental discipline because when it got really tough, I could have easily went and taken another job, but I just didn't. I made myself figure it out. A man once told me the human body is the most adaptable thing in the world, and if you give it just enough protein and just enough water, and if the mind doesn't go, it'll figure everything out. And
That's
so,
right.
and we were on a topic because he was a prisoner of war in Cuba. He got captured in the Bay of Pigs. He was Cuban, and he was coming back from the United States to go fight for his country, and when he got captured. So that haunted me for a while, and I thought I was single. I didn't have any kids. I lived in the United States of America. I had a great family. I was never going to starve. I was always going to have clean water and protein. The thought of not having those two things was ridiculous. The problem was I mentally strong enough not to go back to a job? Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody do this because it's not right for everyone, is it, Wassim?
No, it's not. Look, it definitely isn't. I mean, I'm at the age of 41. I have built myself in the sense that I've got investment properties that are positively geared. Do you guys have that in America? Positively geared, negatively geared. So I've got that. I've got another business and my wife has a very successful role. And my kid's a little bit older. So I'm in a place right now where for me, it's not only just following my own purpose and my own vision for life, but it's also showing my children what they can do.
Oh, and how important is that? That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that every generation seems to do a little better until they get lazy.
That's right. That's right. And that's the thing. One of the things that, I discovered was for me to be the perfect and the best role model for my kids, I need to show them that no matter what age you are, you can go after what you want. You can go there, you can fight the battles, go through the struggles, and see whatever needs to be done and do whatever needs to be done to survive. And that's the mission I'm on. It's not just about me. And that's the other thing that sometimes a lot of people say, well, I want to become financially successful. I want to do this, but why? Why is it do you want to do that? What is the reason behind it? We spoke a little bit before the show about the away and the towards motivation. And the towards motivation is a lot more powerful if you have that as your vision. And that can only be when you understand your why and you understand your purpose.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're away and you're towards. So if you want to get away from your job, it's more powerful to figure out what you want to go to than to figure out what you want to get away from.
100%. Because if you want to get away from your job, you're going to work to another job or to making a certain amount of money, which is going to be exactly the same as that job. And then you're going to be stuck there. But if you've got a big vision for your life, if you've got a massive vision for what you want to do and why you want to do it and how this is going to make the world better, because I believe most humans in the world do the best they can with the tools they have. And we all want to make the world better in one way or another. So if you've got this massive vision, which is going to help other people, it's going to make the world better, you're going to be a lot more driven to do that than just getting away from a boss that you don't like.
Yeah, I get it 100%. Now, there's a whole bunch of people out there, and it seems like there's a house flipper on every corner in my industry. It seems like everybody flips a house now. They're a house flipper for at least a year. And there's a lot of people calling themselves life coaches and personal coaches. It seems like it's kind of overwhelming and it's kind of daunting. What makes you different? What separates you from the crowd?
Well, what separates me from the crowd is I'm not a textbook coach. I haven't just read a couple of books about personal development. I actually lived through personal development for the past 16 years before I started taking on this role. And for me, personal development was originally for me to become the best father and the best provider and the best protector for my family, be the best husband I can be. It wasn't about doing it as a job. And then I got to a place about a year or so ago where I saw many men around me who were struggling to have the success that they want because their relationships were falling apart. Their lives, they didn't have their whole life together. And they started approaching me, and my results speak for themselves. They would say, how did you do this? How did you have the relationship with your wife? How are you able to overcome this? How did you get your wife to support you to do this? Because a lot of them feel that their partners are not supportive, you know, and I struggled through that in the beginning when I first started my journey, and I had to figure out how can I get my wife on board and for her to be my number one fan and my biggest supporter. So living through that allows me to give others the guidance that they need.
Well, let's talk about that a second. I too had to drag my wife by the back of the hair like a caveman into the cave of entrepreneurialism and self-reliance, and she was kicking and screaming the whole way. Now, I don't want to sound impersonal or uncompassionate, but I was at a point where I'd already been through a relationship that was substantial, and this really had nothing to do with that relationship, but in the downfall of that relationship and in the loneliness and in the time in the woods between that failure of that relationship, which I don't mind saying at the time hurt me pretty bad, I decided to reinvent myself, and I decided who I was going to be and what I was going to do, and I also decided that if people around me didn't support me, that I would excommunicate them. But if they were someone I loved or someone I cared about, then I wouldn't excommunicate them from my life, but I would just set them aside and not talk to them about what I'm doing and just put them over there till I could come back with some success and evidence and shut them up. But then there was my wife, and I didn't have a college degree, and I was getting paid about $15 an hour and working my ass off, and I was making people other money, and I could see where I was improving their businesses by tens of thousands of dollars, and they weren't giving me any of it, and it pissed me off. And so I had this struggle with my wife, who was going to divorce me, but I had made up my mind that I was going to go this direction, and if anyone didn't want to come with me, then I would have to meet them in the great beyond sometime, or meet them later, or they could catch up with me, or I would catch up with them somewhere. But I was going this way, and I didn't care who went and who fell off. I mean, I did care, but it didn't matter who it was. I was going this direction. Am I going somewhere with this? I mean,
I think you're asking the question, how do I get my wife on board?
Well, I did it. I just did it like, this is where I'm going, and if you don't want to go, you got to do what you got to do. I don't know that that's the best plan. Luckily, she hung around. How do you suggest you work it?
Look, for me, I totally connect with what you're saying, because I had a very, very similar experience. I remember coming home from, I think the first or the second night of the Unleash Your Power Within. I'd walked on fire. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning after getting home. And I looked my wife straight in the eye and I said to her, life is never going to be the same again. And she looked at me horrified, like, what the hell are they doing to my husband over there?
They brainwashed him. They stole my husband.
That's right. She literally thought I was getting brainwashed because I was this negative, upset person.
You were getting brainwashed, weren't you? You were getting good brainwashing.
100%. And then I came back and I showed her that I was a better person. I showed her that my new journey is going to make her life better. I showed her that I'm doing this for us and doing this for our family. And by being a better person, it took some time. It took a few months where she started to realize, I'm like, see, I used to do this, now I'm doing this. And that's because of the journey that I'm on. This is a positive journey. And I reinforced that all the time until she started coming around. And as soon as she took that small bait, I took her to her first personal development event.
Oh, so How did that go? I mean, did she want to go, or did you talk her into it, or was she excited about it?
She was, okay, we'll give it a go. It was a 2-day period. It wasn't very expensive. That's the other thing. Back then, 2003, I had, like I said, I had no money. I had on a single income, about $40,000 a year, new baby born, and a $450,000 mortgage. And I just paid $1,000 to go to an event for 4 days. And that was about a week and a half's wage for me at the time. So she'd already seen me spend $1,000. So I had to take her to an event that wasn't anywhere near as expensive to even talk her into it. Because she's like, no, you're not spending any more money on these. But after that event, and she had some breakthroughs, she started having a bigger vision for her life, for our life. Then she was like, yeah, I can see where this is going. And now she's doing it. She's like, you have to do this. You owe men what you're doing because of the experiences you've had. So she's now my number one fan.
So are you doing this on a massive scale? Are you helping people on a massive scale? You're doing it one-on-one? You're, excuse me, doing 20, 30 people a year? What level do you do this at?
Well, I do group. So we do have a group coaching program where there's online recording. Oh, sorry, not online recordings, online calls and things like that. However, I find that the best success I get at the moment is through one-on-one. So those that want to take their life to the next level.
I could see that, though, because probably a lot of the conversation is very personal. Very personal. I'm not a Bill.
They are very. Many of my clients think they are personal, but I hear the exact same thing over and over again.
Yeah. I'm not a Millhouse either. I'll probably take between 15 and 20 people a year on a one-on-one, but I have the group coaching too. We're just talking about real estate deals and, all the things that can come up and how to overcome them or how to improve. How long are people usually with you when they're taking self-development help with you?
Well, I usually start them on 3 months, but usually they will last longer than that because as their journey progresses, new things come up. One of the challenges or one of the things with personal development, it's not really a challenge, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, every time you take your life to the next level, every time you level up, it doesn't necessarily get easier. There are just new challenges. You're always creating new problems. You're creating better problems for your life. And it's the same thing with personal development. Every time you break through, something you're doing that's sabotaging your life, you find something else that you're doing that's sabotaging the next level. So it's got to be consistent, ongoing.
Well, I saw a poster the other day. It was a lion, kind of like walking right towards you, staring you in the eyes, and it said, "If you're comfortable, you've stopped growing."
That's right, 100%.
And so there's, I guess at some point you sit down and go, "Okay, I'm done," but that's different times for different people. And you can say you're done for a while, and then a lot of us we sit down for 6 months or 8 months and go, no, I'm not done. This is boring. I got to get on with it again. Somebody light the coals. I got to walk on some more fire.
That's right. And that's the thing. When you're living a life with the passion that you have, when you're living a life, you're doing something that you genuinely love. And it's, again, you have that towards motivation because it's something bigger than you. You'll never get bored. People that get bored in their jobs are because they're not doing something that they love, and it's just a dead-end job.
Yeah, a lot of people out there like that. Either get a new one, move up, or keep doing it, then find something to do after hours that challenges you and try to replace that. What advice do you give investors that are still working too much or too hard?
The first advice I'd give to those investors, just get clear on what you want to do. The clearer you are on your vision, the more driven you're going to be to work towards it. Many times I find investors, I'm sure you'd agree to this if you've tried so many things before you started succeeding, many of them don't succeed because their passion and their drive towards it is not big enough, so they don't take massive enough action. And I know you've got to take massive action, and for you to take massive action, you've got to want to take massive action because it's not easy. It's not easy.
There's a quote in the front of my book. It was when it was the first time when my wife read this, she looked at me and said, for the first time, I think I finally understand this part of you. And I'm going to read it to you. It's a quote from Michener, and it says, "The master of the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both." And see, that's what my wife couldn't figure out. There's a lot of things about what you said in that quote. One is, to really be successful, you have to take massive action. This could take 14, 16, 18 hours a day. If you hate what you're doing or you're not connected to it, you'll never make it through the hours.
Yep.
Because if it seems like work and it's only been 4 hours, you got a long way to go today. And so what blessed me was that I found something that I was on fire about. And it didn't matter. And you could tell me to go home, and I didn't want to. I wanted to go, and I started talking about it 24 years ago and haven't stopped since. I have a podcast now, for God's sake, and we're still talking about it. Okay?
Yep.
I talked about it every day from the time my eyes open to the time it closes. I don't know why, and I don't care. I'm just glad I found it. You know? I'm just glad I found it. So really, I guess the point is you gotta find your passion and get something, because the amount of hours that you really need to put in to be successful is a lot. And if it seems like work, you're not going to make it.
That's right. Mate, like you said in the beginning, it's 8 o'clock there. It's 11:40 p.m. here now. I've been up since 7 a.m. and I'm still going. And I'll be up again at 5 o'clock in the morning.
And is this really work? You see what I'm saying? Like, I would tell my wife, hey, I'm going to go down to the bar, you know, and it's, no, she said, where you been? I said, I've been at the bar. He says, oh, you've been out just having fun. I said, no, I was working. They said, well, you're not working at a bar. I said, I don't know. I talked to several millionaires down there, and they're interested in what I'm doing, and maybe they're going to loan me some money. Was I working or was I playing? I'm not really sure, but.
Does it make a difference in what you do?
Well, so let me ask you this. What are some of the things that sabotage us along the way?
The biggest things that sabotage people, from my opinion, what I have seen over the years, and this has been from my own experience, every time I failed, I found that I've been displaying 3 traits. And then after I got out of the shit that I was in and got out of the woods, I'd look back and I'm like, that is why I did that. One is I wasn't accepting my dominance as a man. I wasn't accepting who I was as a man and taking ownership of who I am, taking ownership of my situation, taking ownership of how I got myself to where I am, and that I am responsible. Nobody else is responsible to get me out. Whenever I was failing, I was playing the blame game. I was looking at who was the one that screwed me over, who was the one that got me fired, who was the one that walked out on me. I didn't look at what I did to get myself in that situation. And every single time, the moment I changed my perspective and looked internally and looked in the mirror and said, you know what? I did this. I have to fix this.
Taking responsibility for everything in your life and everything about your life is the number one thing. It's the first thing I did, and I didn't know that I was doing it, but I remember the conversation. I looked myself right in the mirror and said, it all stops right here now. There's no blaming anybody else for anything.
Yep.
Nothing, not one thing. I should have seen it coming, or I'll know better and I'll see it coming next time. But it doesn't matter what it is. Yep. What's the next one? You said 3.
Yeah, the second one is accepting your dark side. Now, I know a lot of people think the dark side is a bad part of us, but if you read and look at what great athletes and great leaders in the world have done, they've always accepted that dark side, that burning desire to create something different. Every person that's changed the world never had a realistic view of the world. But we are taught in school, we are taught at work, we are taught in society, we are taught on social media to play small and be part of the crowd and not step up and take our life to the next level. Not follow that dream that you have that is that could be seen as a warped version of reality to the other people. But it can be sometimes that dream that you have that is so different than everybody else that's going to make the biggest difference in your life and take you to the next level.
I agree 100%. I'm doing things and you're doing things I never dreamed of 15 years ago. And
that's right. If someone said to me 2 years ago, I'd be here, you know, on a podcast with someone on the other side of the globe, I'd be like, no way in the world. I'm out there selling pharmaceuticals.
Hey, I wrote 3 books. I know there's 4 English teachers rolling over in their graves. I swear.
And you know what? That's the other thing. Like, this is not the third thing, but this is something else that I've found that many people do, which is they want to get perfection. They want to get everything to be 100% right before they launch it. You're better off launching it imperfect and making a difference than waiting for it to be perfect, because it will never be perfect.
I got to tell you this story. I was at this convention the other day, and this lady runs up to her book, and she's very upset with me. And I finally had to stop what I was talking to someone. I said, I'm sorry, can I help you? And she says, I just can't believe that you wrote this book, and I found like 7 typos in your book. And and she was so disgusted with me. I mean, she was, why do you write a book if you can't spell? They have proofreaders. I said, you know, you ought to take solace. You too can buy 2,000 houses and not know how to spell. I mean, geez.
You know what? And that is so right. I read so many books, and I love to listen to audio while I'm reading. So I listen to the audio book while I'm reading it. I find I get a lot more traction.
Wow, you're like double saturation. I never thought of that.
Yeah, because I used to be pharmaceutical rep, so I was on the road a lot, and I would always have podcasts, audio books, etc., playing the whole time. And then I discovered this when I was listening to a particular book, and I was like, I want to learn every single word in this book. So I bought the book, and then I sat there one night, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to listen to it and read it, because English is my third language. That's the other thing. So I came out here, and I didn't speak a word of English when I was 10 years old. So English has never been my strong point. So I totally get where you're coming from. You know, when I start writing shit, I'm lucky that I'm married to an English teacher.
So you better not read along with my book, because I don't read so good. And so I start ad-libbing as I get to the topics in the book. I just start saying it in my own words. So like you would be reading the book going, hey, this guy just went off the road here, you know?
But that's exactly the point I was getting to. So many books that I read and the author is on the Audible, they're not the same because the author's talking differently. And then because now that, you know, 20 or 30 something years in Australia, being married to an English teacher, I had to bring up my level of English over the past 20 years. So now I actually can see these typos. I can see the mistakes. And these are books by multi-millionaires. People who've gone out there and have amazing empires, and they're still writing books with mistakes in it. Yeah.
So the other day, a guy said, you know, I seen your book. He says, you know, there's a couple of mistakes in that book. Same thing. There's not that many. And they could be, I was taking a creative liberty. So some of them were debatable whether they're misspelled or not. You know, I chose to spell it that way for a reason. And I said to the guy, I said, well, you know, that's not very nice to say in front of all these people. I mean, I don't criticize your book, you know, in front of people. And he was really fast. He took the bait. He says, I never wrote a book. And I said, oh, yeah, that's right. You never did you? Oh, that's right. You haven't written a book, have you?
And you know what? That is something that is very, very important, which goes back to the second point. We live in a society today, and I don't know whether you guys have this in America, but we have a term here in Australia called the tall poppy syndrome. Have you heard of that saying before?
The what?
The tall poppy syndrome.
The tall poppy syndrome. No, I haven't heard of it.
Okay, so it's an Australian, and I believe it's a British term. And what it is, the tall poppy syndrome is if a poppy grows above the rest, it gets chopped down. So whenever someone rises above the crowd, whenever someone gets a little bit ahead, guess what happens? They start getting criticized. They start getting hate. They start getting told they're not good enough. Who the hell are you to write a book? Who the hell are you to speak about personal development? Who the hell are you to, be flipping houses or whatever it is that you're doing? Having an online store, having a business online. Who the hell are you to be doing that while the rest of us are out in the rec yard, or we're laboring, or we're in a 9-to-5 job in an office, whatever it is. You start getting criticized for dreaming big, and then guess what happens? Like you said, if you don't have that mental strength, you start doubting yourself. You start getting scared, and then you go back to playing small again.
Well, this is when it's good to have a sounding board and have your mentors and have people like you in the corner saying, no, this is typical, just stay there. If you think that when I started this podcast, that I thought I was going to get an audience like the one I have, such a loyal and friendly and good audience to me, I never did. I just decided to try it. And the main thing was I was just going to be myself. And if you liked me, you liked me. And if you didn't, you could move on. And I was just going to see how many people maybe would like me. It turned out to be way more than I thought. It's kind of like the president we have right now. He's not. You don't care if you like him or not. If you like him, he'll be president. You don't like him, don't vote for him. He won't be president because he's got a lot of better things to do.
Yeah. And you know what? I was actually at a boot camp last week, the week before. Sorry, I was actually at a boot camp the week before for an American guy, and he pretty much said that he had a vision, or he had a theory a year before your current president. He said, if I can get 50% of America to hate me, I can become president. A year later, you guys got a new president.
That's an interesting theory. If you can get 50% of the people to hate you, that means the other 50%, or in the other bucket. That's good. So how important is it to, when we're coming up, until we're 16 or 17, we're around the same people all the time. And the most influential people are our parents and our brothers and our sisters and our grandparents and our friends that we've been around for a long time. And they have us pegged in a certain hole and they won't let us out. Yep. And so sometimes, if you notice, I noticed this trend. A lot of people moved towns, got separated from all that, and that's when they started becoming their own person. When they didn't have someone pushing them back into the ditch they were in. When you try to come out, they push you back in. Not necessarily the tall poppy syndrome, where they weren't criticized. It's just they wouldn't believe me. Like if I walked into the room on my first or second or third flip and said, hey, I need to borrow $50,000 to buy a house, everyone would have said, who the hell's going to give you $50,000?
Yeah.
Because they had seen me grow up and all my mistakes and all my bad traits, and they knew everything. And I wasn't allowed in their eyes to become someone different. Talk to me about that.
So look, that's a very interesting point, and that's something I had to overcome when I first went to my Tony Robbins event and I wanted to take my life to the next level. I took inventory of who's in my life, and I realized that I am where I am because of my network. One of my mentors says your net worth is your network.
Yes, so, they say that here a lot.
Yeah. So who you hang around with is going to influence you. And this is why it was so important for me to bring my wife onto that journey, and why I take my kids onto the same journey that I'm on, so they can be in the same environment and have the same growth set. But I had to change also the people I hang around with, who I'm getting advice from. And I had to pay in the beginning, and still now, I had to pay for the advice. I had to pay for the access. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if you're paying, you're going to pay attention. And the more you pay and the more attention you pay. So
yes, I believe that 100%. Look, you've got a book that we're going to give away. Tell us the title. It's Man Decoded.
It's the Man Decoded Secrets Black Book, the underground black book that I want you to know.
Wow. Hey, let's cut right here. It got warbly a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the question, start over again in 5, 4, 3. Okay, so we've got a book that we're going to give away here. It's Man Decoded Secrets Black Book. Tell us a little bit about the book, and if I got the title right. Say it again.
Yeah, so it's the Man Decoded Secrets Black Book, which is the underground playbook that I want you to know about. Now, this book is, I've dissected exactly the things I have done and what are the major areas in my life I had to work on to get the success that I want. So I dissected down exactly what were the areas that I have discovered that I needed to focus on. And by focusing on these areas, I was able to level up my life every time. And every time I want to take my life to the next level, I will start with the exact same 4 things and take each one of those parts of my life to the next level. And by doing that, my whole life would go up to the next level.
Wow. So, guys, I want you to go to ariinvestorsummit.com/improve. Improve. ariinvestorsummit.com/improve. I want you to go there and get you a free copy of that book by Wassim Dabboussi and learn about those 4 things. Now, I got to digress.
We still have the third trait.
Well, that's what I say. I got to digress. We have the third trait. We had the first one, which was accept full responsibility for your life and everything in it.
Yeah.
And the second one was accept your dark side and don't be afraid to be unrealistic. You know, there's people going to tell you that, you know, that's just too much or too big or not going to happen. Don't let them sway you. And what's number 3?
Number 3 is deceit, lying. Many people lie to themselves about their reality. They lie to others about what is happening, and they don't accept the truth of who they are. And this is a major wall, if you want. It's a major hurdle to growing as a person. We live in a society today where we are taught from young children that it's okay to have a white lie. It's okay to bend the truth. It's okay to stretch the truth, to bend the rules a little bit. What I propose is to be congruent and be truthful to yourself internally and externally so that your values are congruent and therefore you no longer have to hide anything about your life.
Well, one thing I love about being a podcast host is I get to talk to a lot of very interesting people, and I start to see common themes. I was talking to a self-improvement person about a month ago, and he said that he had the honor and the pleasure of meeting the Maharaji, and they became friends. And one of the biggest impacts that the Maharaji had on him was the Maharaji asked what his affirmations were, and he said the affirmations, and then the Maharaji said, that's great. Are you living them? Are they you? Are they you? And he had to go back and re-go through his affirmations, and he figured out that he was hiding behind the lie of positive thinking. He was thinking positive, but it wasn't true. He wasn't living. He wasn't doing he wasn't living those affirmations. They were not him, and he had to change his affirmations. So I think that's to the point what you said. You know, you can't lie to yourself about there's false enthusiasm and there's enthusiasm, right? They can't have a false enthusiasm. Like, yeah, I'm going to go climb the mountain. No, not really, but I'm just going to keep saying it because I've heard if I keep saying it, it'll happen. Well, you can't just keep saying it and not take actions. I mean, just the words alone won't get you. And if you're not living something to get there, then either change your aspiration or start applying yourself.
100%. And the reason why for me this is so important is because if you're lying to yourself, you're lying to everybody else around you. If you can't be truthful internally, then how can you be truthful externally? And then how could you be trusted in the world?
Yeah.
So you've got to keep the promises to yourself.
I love that. So these are the 3 of the traits where people are sabotaging themselves. They're not accepting full responsibility. They're not accepting their dark side, which the dark side, like you said, it's kind of a tricky word. Really, you know, if you've got dreams bigger than other people or ambitions bigger than other people, and people don't want to accept it, don't worry about that. And the third one was don't lie to yourself. You know, really, what you want, is it really what you're doing? Are you really taking action? Are you? Yeah.
And look, affirmations are great. I mean, when I was 100 kilos overweight, I was about 100 kilos. I'm not a very tall guy. I use affirmations, but affirmations on their own, like you said, without action is not going to work. I was telling myself that I'm losing weight, but I had to go to the gym also to follow it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in this process in my own life right now where I could stand to lose about 40 pounds. I'm not very tall either.
Yeah.
And I'm finding it very difficult to change my diet. Although I know there is healthy things out there that I like to eat, but you have to go get in the habit of providing that stuff and having it ready in your house because, I don't know, sometimes I wait till I'm starving to death before I think about eating, and then it's too late, man. I don't have no willpower anymore. So again, go to ariinvestorsummit.com/improve, get your free copy, Man Decoded Secret Black Book, and learn how to improve yourself. If you've never been to an improvement class or had an improvement coach, it's quite an experience. I don't really see how it can hurt you if you've got even anyone who's sincerely interested in helping you. Even a good friend that knows what they're doing it can work, but it pays to go to professionals. Sometimes, a lot of times in life, you get what you pay for, and you don't get what you don't pay for. My life changed dramatically when I started getting coaches and mentors, and I hope that yours does too. Anything you want to say to the folks maybe before we wrap it up?
Look, just on what you said, I totally agree with you in terms of getting coaches and mentors to take your life to the next level. And the importance of that is two things for me. One, they have the experience and they're living the life they know what you need to do to get to where you want to get. But the other thing also, having a friend to speak to is great, but sometimes there's that emotional bias. A coach and a mentor is going to hold you accountable, is going to make you be truthful to yourself and take accountability and go after the dreams that you want. A friend is going to say, you know what, you tried, it didn't work, next time we will do something better. A coach is not going to let you do that. Every elite athlete has a coach and they don't let them fail.
Right. I'm thinking about some of my football coaches, hey, that wasn't good enough. Get back there and do it again.
That's right.
Do it again. Do it again. Okay, now you're getting better.
100%.
Did you play sports?
I played basketball as a child, and then at the age of about 16, I went to an all-boys high school, and there was a girls' high school next door. So I had to make a choice of either hanging out with the girls at recess and lunchtime or play basketball. So my basketball career stopped right then and there.
All right, we're talking to Wassim Dabboussi. Be sure to check out his book, ariinvestorsummit.com/improve. Get a free copy. Over there in the show notes, we're going to have some kind of way to connect with you, have a free consultation, find out what you're about.
Yes, I'll definitely have all that on there, and I'll offer your clients a free consultation, 15-minute consultation with me.
Okay, man. This man's very affordable. He's got a $37 masterclass. And tell us a little bit about the masterclass.
So in the masterclass, I dive deeper into the 3 vicious traits. I go into detail of how they stopped me and other people that I've seen, exactly what it feels like, and to identify when you are displaying these traits. Each and every one of them is what I go into detail of how to identify and how to get out of it. Because sometimes when you're in the shit, or when you're looking at the tree and not seeing the forest, sometimes you don't know how to get out. And that's where I've been every single time. And I needed to learn and identify how to get out of where I am and get out of my head and be able to stop being my biggest enemy.
Yeah, get out of your own way. And then you have an online monthly coaching program. It's only $197 a month. Now I'm mentioning prices here, and I didn't even ask if I could or should. But so let me just preface it with this. These are the prices today. This conversation will be archived for I don't know how many months or years. The man has the right to change his prices or improve his programs, whatever. But today, as we speak, and it's September of 2019. Yeah, get a masterclass for $37. Get an online coaching program for $197 a month, and it's a 3-month course. I mean, a 3-month commitment, but most people would probably go on past that. So it's a month-to-month kind of thing. Am I right on this?
100%. Yes, it's month to month after that. Yeah.
Yeah, so try it out. I mean, it can't hurt anything, and you may find someone that you're still talking to 2 or 3 years later. That's what happened to me with some of my coaches. I signed on temporarily, but when we connected and things helped, I still have relationships with them today. And
100%. And you meet so many people who are on the same level. Going back to that network, be your net worth, be your network. Once you start connecting with people on the same wavelength, you're going to start elevating your life.
all right, this is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'd like to thank you for stopping by to get some Wassim Dabboussi and figure out maybe a path to make some improvements. I also want to thank my sponsors over at taxfreefuture.com. If you don't have a tax-deferred or tax-free retirement plan, please go to taxfreefuture.com because you will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. All right, I think we got a wrap here. Have a good week, Wassim, and we'll be talking to you soon maybe, huh?
Thank you, brother. Talk to you soon, mate.
All right, we're out of here. Bye now.